Hi, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I am Nerdarchist Ted, and today I am joined by this wonderful individual.
Nerder Doug.
How are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
As always, the Nerdarchy week is off to a fantastic start, and here I am talking with you tonight to cap off the evening.
That is awesome to hear. Mondays, are something I always look forward to go and nerd out with some, nerdy people, yourself and fans included. And today we're going to talk about runes and all the variety of ways that you can wind up using them in the game or using them at your table.
Oh man, it's such a multifaceted thing. Runes too. It's just evocative and just sounds cool and magical. No matter what genre too. I mean, obviously, we've focused on like D&D and fantasy stuff, but alien runes can show up in science fiction, or
Absolutely, yeah.
eldritch runes in your modern horror Cthulhu investigation game or whatever.
Very much so.
We
I
got an
was the one that
international crowd today.
Oh,
Australia, Belgium, and the future.
and the future. Wow. Yeah. Loads of great guy. Yeah, I've talked with him on many occasions. But I actually came up with this topic as I was, kind of looking around for, things, cleaning up my gaming space and reorganizing some stuff. And I came upon, some old, props that I used to have for LARPing and what have you. There's a book on, reading runes and all of the, the different ways that you can read it. And it comes with a bag that actually has the stone runes in them.
Oh, so you know of which you speak, huh? You actually know a bit about the actual runes and the reading of said runes.
I used to know a lot more. It has been a long time since I've done LARPing. It was my wife that actually was the rune caster at that particular game.
Okay.
But as a general tool, like you could have these kind of things at your table to be able to have them and use them, and there's a variety of different ways that you can do so. But one method is to use them as a kind of a divination purpose. And you could have the things in the bag, you have someone pull them out and almost do like a tarot reading, but as opposed to looking at the card, you look at the rune and the orientation in which you show it. And this particular book gives you all of that. Now, if you want to go through that process, learn and memorize all that stuff and use it whole cloth, that's a great asset to your DMing tool bag. But you don't have to go through all that kind of work. You can use it in a variety of other ways. It's a fun little thing.
Mm-hmm.
You could have them as like treasure pieces, and it's like, oh, you find this stone with this sigil carved on it, and you just literally just put it out there on the table and allow them to look at it. They might not have a clue as to what it is or how to use it, because it could be new magic or very old magic, depending upon what you want to do.
Oh yeah, players, including game masters, love runes. I think. I mean, just anytime you mention them, it just piques people's interest. It conjures something in your mind, whether it's like there's probably magic here, or something secret, or old, or ancient, or just unusual. And it made me think when you're talking about like having them at the table. It's like, a lot of times, even I guilty of this too. It's like, you play online a lot, and especially at these times when we're social distancing, you think like, accessories, you don't really get to use them as much, minis. But I think you can. Like I was thinking, just imagining all the times we've played online together and stuff. And, if you're playing like a divination wizard, just, you don't have to do it constantly, but every now and again, like, just drop your runes for yourself. It's just fun. It just gets you in the mood. And it really achieves like runes in general, for some reason, maybe just because it's such like a universally understood thing, it really does something that I strive for and love in like any game I'm playing. Is like it just helps paint a picture of like what it's like in the set. Like it's visual, but it's also like has all these other things tied up in it, so it's just interesting to me, like. And if you like, I remember the first game I DM'd for 5th edition, very first session. They were, poking around this old mansion, And it was otherwise normal, but there was like a staircase, and one of the characters detected like giantish runes, and it like they were just instantly intrigued. And they weren't, it wasn't a word or anything. It just was like words, carved
And
in the staircase.
that's actually one of the the first things on my list is
Oh, sure.
the runic language,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be giant, dwarf, draconic, elven, or some other kind of thing. You brought up alien language,
Mm-hmm.
or elder languages. You could even go into like deep speech and that kind of stuff, and having things that are just so far out there that you have no concept.
But they know it means something. I guess that's what the lure of rune. It's like it's
right.
not just a drawing; it's a rune. It's like it represents something.
And I love that. And
mm-hmm. I guess that's what's fun about it.
For the exploration pillar, it's one of those things that to many D&D players, when you begin to describe something, a lot of them are going to be like, oh, well, what does it look like?
Mm-hmm.
And there've been times that I will actually hand draw a sigil, and other times I'm like, it's jagged lines and sharp points. Other times, it's swirly and swoopy. And to me, when I look at languages, from sigils and runes, I see them a particular way. We've always described dwarvish and giant as very similar languages, from the written perspective, but like dwarven and giant are very, very sharp lines, whereas elven is very flowy, very swoopy, if you will, and draconic is kind of a mix of the two. That's how I've always done it. But like you can describe these things and have clues if somebody has a similar language without actually giving them any kind of information, and that might say, oh, well, can I cast comprehend language? Can I try to ascertain it? But then that actually leads me to my next thing of, well, if it's not actually a language, it could be a trap. It could be some kind of magical catalyst.
Sure.
And literally enacting that kind of magic could be the magic unleashing, and oh my god, now something's happening to my mind because this happens. And the total improv elements of the way we DM in a way that some DMs do out there, you could literally be like, all right, I'm going to throw this out there and then see what they do. And is it a thing? Is it a trap? Is it whatever? And however they act is what you could wind up going with it.
Well, that really makes me think like there's a really good DM tip there if you think about it, because even if you don't have, you didn't even plan for there to be any runes in your session at all, right? It can really buy you some time, right? Like if you just describe like runes on a wall or on a page, like they're probably going to get curious, not probably, but chances are the players will get curious and want to know what they are. So it's like, well, you can think about it while they're doing those things like casting comprehend languages, seeing if anybody speaks such and such or looking at it. So, and you can use it as like a pacing tool, right? Like, it's like, well, if nothing's really happened for a while and, they're full on hit points and everything. And it's like, I can see this being a ward, right? A glyph of warding or an explosive rune protecting something, or it could, it could literally do anything, right? It could teleport them somewhere, summon a creature, do damage, anything you can think of, right? So you can kind of use that time listening to the players to see what they might be in the mood for. And
that's a even further sidetrack, but that's absolutely the great a great DM tip is listening to your players.
If they're like, it might be this, it might be that, chances are like they're probably hoping it's those things because that's what is on their mind, right?
I've told you guys, but I did not watch the Scarlet Sisterhood when Dave ran it all those years ago. So I've actually been going back and listening to that, and I'm most of the way through. I'll probably finish it before this time next week, if not much sooner. Depends upon how the rest of my week goes. But there was an episode that I'm at where they're like, oh, we want some trouble. And like the characters are literally like talking about, well, we could go this, we could go do this, we could do that. It's like, whether it be the players talking or the characters talking, when they're looking for trouble, trouble's gonna find them in some way, shape, or form. As
Hey,
long
it's a
as
game, man. Trouble's gonna find you no matter which no matter which direction you go, right? There's probably something's gonna happen.
so like,
Hopefully.
and that literally happened in the episode that I'm watching right now. So, it absolutely is a thing that DM should be doing. And if you've got, if you're fortunate enough to have players who are going to interact with each other and role play about what it is that they want to do, that's easy pickings. And in that group, like, man, there are many times where they're like, all right, well, this is not the best thing for us to do, but in game, my character totally wants to do it. And I do that a lot myself. And,
Sure.
In Dave's, last game, my character was super smart, super wise, was it 20 to, no, my Relion, my
that
okay. 20 wisdom, 18 intelligence.
Yeah, he was.
And there were things that's like, yep, I'm gonna do that. It's like, there's no way this guy would be that stupid, but I did it anyway. Like,
but there is a sort of a wisdom and intelligence in thinking like, well, I have people that are highly capable backing me up, and the reward for doing whatever this thing is probably is worth it, right? Like whether it's knowledge or preventing some great evil. So
I play it off as
he's wise,
dangerous levels of curiosity.
Sure.
So he's willing to take risks because
he's also a faithful person. Quintilian will protect him if his goals are true.
Quintilian will be there.
One of the cool things I came across that I'd forget slipped my mind was researching for this live chat was in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. One of the sort of gimmicky mechanics of that mega dungeon is these things called elder runes, and the book actually comes with tear out. You can make like a deck of them, and they're sort of like, let's say, plot twists, and they can just basically like literally appear in the dungeon at any time, and they're like giant spectral runes, and they have like they have effects and stuff, but they also like change certain fundamental like nature of the dungeon as well.
Okay.
So, so you can get as crazy as you want with runes where they're literally just like appearing in the air as a spectral energy thing right in front of the characters.
I actually, slightly altered coin flip from out of the box, kind of hitting back here over my shoulder. It's one of my favorites from that book. But as opposed to jumping on coins, they were jumping on runes.
Oh, great!
And so like you could technically, if the character tried to make ascertain what the rune was or whatnot, you might be able to give them kind of a leg up on whether it's a positive or a negative type scenario. So that was a way to kind of twist that one. The other thing that you could do, and tying into the aspect that I brought up about actually using the physical runes at the table many years ago, and I don't remember what I want to say. It was Diablo 2, but it could have been Diablo 3. It's been so long since I've played any of them that they're all kind of blending together. But you had, you could find runes as a treasure, and you could put them into your item, and the rune would give it some kind of power.
What game was this?
Diablo.
Oh, okay.
So I want to say Diablo 2. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And that's a great treasure concept for D&D or any game, right? Like that customizable factor where it's like, you can keep your family sword that you had since first level, but it's like, you can affix this rune to it, like maybe through attunement or something. That's a wonderful idea.
The way that the game did it was, items had sockets, and you could put a gem and or a rune, kind of into it. Remorta says it was Diablo 2, so
it's also like Final Fantasy materia, like
basically. And the cool thing is you could put something in there, and if you if you put in a rune, it would bestow power. So like you could literally like, oh, this is a +1 rune. You sock it in, it magically fuses to the sword, transforming it into, you know, a +1 item. Well, one of the really cool things was there were rune words, if you would. And if you put runes in a particular order into a weapon,
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
it would give you not only all of the powers that those runes would do, but then it would bestow more besides.
Sure, that's an
Uh,
awesome concept.
and so, like, that's something that I've kind of been toying around with because, like I said, I literally had pulled this stuff out
Sure.
to kind of play around
Yeah,
with.
you've really got me my creativity peaked for sure. I'm
Well,
already like,
exactly, you know, so like, you know, those are the fun things that you would do. Not only can you give the items typical powers that they might already possess, um you know, you can then like magic items that already exist,
mhm,
but then
right.
you could go outside the realm of what's there, especially if you want to go with a scripted rune word, and bestow actual meaning. Maybe, you know, going, you know, maybe all of this stuff was, you know, specifically tailored to, you know, giants all those years ago, and all
Mhm.
of these things are tied to that giant lore. Or maybe it's a whole other culture, maybe it's from a race that has, you know, long since passed from your realm. However you want to play it, you can do it. You can just totally go in a crazy wonky direction with it. um you
You
know.
know, and for the player too, so those sort of things make like a great like B or C plot, right? Like it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be the whole campaign's about like the quest to find runes, but like, you know, and this kind of makes me think of like the today's video about backstories and things. Like those are the kind of things that you could that like you just sprinkle their seasoning, right? Like every few sessions or, you know, whatever adventures, like maybe they'll discover a clue to a new rune or something. It's not the whole campaign, but for that character, it's like an awesome thing, you know, like that they can do in their downtime or, you know, when they're in town looking, you know, between adventures or whatever.
Now in Diablo, you know, not any item could take
Sure.
a rune or a gem, you know, so therefore, you know, you had to find specific items. Well, for D&D, I wouldn't want to go that far. I would want to say that
Yeah.
the power of the rune itself is literally in the rune. So if you wanted to get a rune out of another item, you know, that's going to require, you know, some kind of tool check. It's going to require you to literally destroy the other object to get the runes out safely without destroying them,
Mm-hmm.
which that goes in, you know, back into, you know, skills and, you know, using those kind of things that some DMs are not really a part of, especially when you're talking about acquiring treasure beyond, can I make a perception or an investigate check? You know, bringing tools into your, you know, recovery of a treasure, that makes it fun, that makes it, you know,
Oh yeah,
fancy to me. And then,
absolutely.
you know, then you can go beyond, oh well, you know, can I use jeweler's tools, can I use smithing tools, how do you want
Heck,
to,
even weaver's tools. I mean, what if it's like runes woven into like a magical cloak,
you
like
know,
into the fabric, right?
so you can go in a variety of different directions. And then, you know, while I was, you know, doing my own research, like I was thinking, oh well, you know, going a step further, something that I don't really recall ever happening with the game of Diablo was that like each rune, like it would if it's going to permanently change the item that you apply it to, what if it had like a default aesthetic? So like, you know, I was initially thinking like, all right, let's, yeah, you can do you know, this is a +1, +2, +3, but those are normal. Like those kind of things, you know, are going to be out there. Let me find something that breaks typical, you know, fifth
Sure.
edition -1 thing. All right, I'm going to make an impact rune. This, you know, when put into a weapon, it's going to do an extra 2 points of damage. Nothing super fancy, but fun and fitting. So what kind of an impact, you know, what kind of aesthetic would that wind up changing?
Hmm.
Would the weapon grow a little bit? Would it have more of a like a
Ooh, that's
harder
really
edge
neat.
or a
Sure.
sheen? So like you could give it a default, but you could also do that same kind of thing where you give agency to your player. Tell them what the mechanics are, and then say,
Mhm.
now what has this done to your item?
Yeah, I could totally see that, maybe even like you start with a dagger, say, and you put a rune in, like maybe it gets like serrated and stuff, and it's like a vicious weapon or
Hmm.
something. And then you get another rune and it gets like longer and or whatever.
Yeah,
Just
so
keeps changing like that. Yeah, so you can really customize it over time. That's really neat. You could get super in depth, like on a crunchy. Like you could make a whole runic language, and like, oh, but this one and this one does this, like formulae. That'd be pretty interesting.
shout out to DMG Info, who's done the nerds reference.
Hmm.
Always dig seeing those things from Revenge of the Nerds way back when.
Proud of it, man. Just as much now as then. I always thought it was cool to be a nerd.
And I've always been me. I will talk about D&D and novels in the halls in high school and
Oh
whatever
yeah.
have you. That's just who I am.
Hmm.
Um, so I've covered most of my list. We did see somebody talking in the chat about using the Rune Knight.
Yep, that was
For
on. It was yeah, which I'm super excited about. I think that's definitely one of the best subclasses that we've seen, since the PHB, and I don't think that ever had any revisions, or I mean, in UA, it's
right,
like that
right.
was just the one. It wasn't
I
like
do believe
biased.
so.
I think people loved it. It's cool. It's a really flavorful, different take on fighter, giving you sort of access to some interesting magical stuff and also like knowledge about giants and lore. So yeah, I'm super excited that that's in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
Which what we should be seeing sometime later this month.
I've been trying to avoid spoilers lately because there's just like, I just saw today like, oh yeah, Jeremy Crawford is going to reveal like, one new subclass in it and talk about it in detail from now until it comes out. It's like, I want to be surprised. Like, I don't want to watch that.
Well, I'm excited for when it finally gets here.
Sure.
I'm not super onto social media. I know right now there's a
Yeah.
lot of things talking out there that I don't want to see.
Yeah.
Political debates and spoilers about season 2 of The Mandalorian and
Yeah. Yeah.
spoilers about Tasha's Cauldron. I'm like, you know what? I can just kind of sit back a little bit and give it some
I
time.
totally hear you.
But that's not the only place where you're going to find rune stuff. Our friends over at Kobold Press have Deep Magic. I backed this on Kickstarter. They're actually going to send us another one that we're going to be able to have as a giveaway at some point in time. So be on the lookout for that. But here there's a whole section on Rune Magic, and it's not a subclass in any way, shape, or form. It's actually a series of feats that you can take over and over again. But there's 2, 5, looks like 17, 21, 25 runes that you can explore through the course of these feats. So enough things that you could fill all of your feat selections through your levels.
Boy, that would be terrific for a fighter too, because they get more ability score increases, so you could get a lot more runes than a wizard.
So you've got to have a wisdom of 12 or higher to take rune knowledge, and that gives you knowledge of 2 runes.
Okay.
And then once you have runes, you can unlock rune mastery
Ooh.
And gain an additional power of a rune you already know.
Nice.
And then you can enact these rune powers that you have. Some things are in action, some things are other stuff, but all of them have kind of like a passive bonus, and then some other ability.
Okay. Man, yeah, I really would like to play a Rune Knight fighter that also has those feats. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, I mean that would be beyond spot on there. Like it would definitely be a lot of fun. So
I loved Ashley Johnson's Rune Knight that she played in the Darrington Brigade, where she would put the runes on her fists, like she would just draw them on there so she could punch people. Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
So that's a great thing. I love just about everything from this.
Kobold Press are great.
Yes, I was following and picking up and getting review copies of a lot of the Deep Magics, back when they were, going as just the digital.
Uh-huh.
And when I saw that they were being collected into a hardcover book, I am like, there is no way I don't want that, because there is just so much amazing to add to your campaign.
Mhm.
So if you don't have this, I highly recommend you look into it.
And if I know Kobold Press, which I feel like I do pretty well because we've been doing stuff with them for a long time, you can probably get that on Amazon, or I mean, if you can't right now, I'm sure you will be able to. And if you want to support Nerdarchy, you can hit the Amazon link in the description, which you'll also find down there. Dave and Ted talking about Rune Magic, doing a preview of it from back in the day when it was just the single magics, new magic type product. And there's also a link to Drive-Thru RPG for that. So there's two ways to support the channel. You can get some cool Rune Magic, or just a whole big book of magic, which has got my favorite, the Void Magic, which and the Illumination Magic.
I cannot speak highly enough about Void Magic. So much so that Dave, tempted and corrupted. Earlier mentioned Relion, my cleric of Quenthel, and we still have not finished that game to find out whether
That's
he
right.
was able to, shuck off that spoil, or whether I become a villain for a future game. But
he's got the Ring of Hork.
Yes, he does have the Ring of Hork. The ring that looks like writhing worms and always it's moving around.
Somebody in my D&D in a Castle party had that. I gave it out as treasure. I had a pretty extensive, really powerful random treasure list.
So Deverlo, calls out that we did miss another subclass in the Taladore book. There is the Rune Child Sorcerer.
Oh, that's right. I don't have that book. I never looked through it. I forgot that was in there.
I am quite blessed. I did buy it, and then at the last Gen Con that you could go to, I actually ran into Matt and got him to sign it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I forgot about that Rune Child. Isn't that what Gilmore is?
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen a stat block on such.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I know you like the Void Magic. I don't know if you're into the Void creatures that Kobold Press has sort of put it. But every time I get a new monster book from them, I'm like, where the Void stuff at? And this one doesn't disappoint either. Man, that is one huge book.
I've got my Tomo Beast 2 on order. I was actually kind of hoping it was going to be here soon.
They come up with some weird stuff, man.
Yes, there is a lot of great stuff out of basically everything Kobold Press puts out there.
Yeah, they're really terrific.
And so you can always find different reviews, whether it be from myself or Doug, that stuff over on the Nerdarchy website.
Hey, this is off topic a little bit, but it does have to do with making cool stuff. And this is ostensibly our Patreon chat at its core. So since there usually is Patreon people here, I'm excited about us changing up our monthly rewards a bit. I don't know if we want to talk about that at all. But I think so yeah, we sort of have we've been doing like adventure stuff. Well, it's got something for everybody. There's tons of player stuff, new classes, subclasses, and magic items, and skills, races, and weapons, and all that stuff. And there's usually an accompanying adventure, but we're changing it up to be more we're nerdarchyifying it, and they're more like just scenarios and encounters. I'm hesitant to say encounter because I think people just think of combat encounter.
Right.
So I like to call them shit that happens. That's the behind the scenes title. But yeah, so we're really sort of just like digging into like that drop in your game style where, and actually, who it was, that Wally DM who was on the live chat, sort of like kind of crystallized the idea for me, because him and Dave were just talking about their DMing style, and he's like, so you just like to drop off all the building materials in the front yard and say, hey, you build it. You can put the house together. So it's sort of that, it's like these are all the tools to guide the GM and give players like tons of like engaging things to do that you can just literally drop in anytime. Like they're walking through town, they're walking down the road, whatever. So we're super excited about that. I hope everybody likes it too.
So the concept is, from design is, we've been putting out all of this, great material, and it's great to use, but it's not the style that, Dave and I, and, to a certain degree, Doug as well, that we run in. It's more reactionary. It's more, when you need something, this is a great drop in. And that fits more with the style and what we want to really showcase. We got a lot of people who loved our book Out of the Box.
Yeah,
it's sitting back here as I smack myself in the face with it.
Yeah.
But I've used it. I know Doug has used it many times, and to not use a proven strategy is just kind of silly. So we're still going to get a decent amount. We're still going to have stuff that's for players and DMs, but it's going to be more of the style that we're looking for, the style that's going to fit what we would typically use. So it's going to be easier for DMs to be like, oh, I read this and I can just kind of allow the players to react. Not everything is going to be combat. You've got the ability to kind of just get in there and have fun with it.
And I've been running D&D for my brother and his friend recently. We've been playing Curse of Strahd, and we played this weekend, and it really kind of made it clarified for me too. I was like, Curse of Strahd's great, but it's really big and expansive, and a lot of times, like, unless you do read through these things and understand like why these people are doing this and that, you can meander, and the players might never know that, but it still makes you think like, oh geez, I'm off track or whatever. But then using stuff like that, and I feel it is more like it's just giving them something to do instead of asking them what they want to do. It's just like, here's something that happened, and like they might want to talk to somebody. So I feel like we try, they have all those things. It's like if they want to be social about it, there's usually a pretty detailed NPC and like what they want, why they're there, and obviously there's often a chance for combat and stuff at some point, but it's like a meaningful set piece. It's not just like you walk in this room and this thing attacks and whatever. So I think it's going to be pretty fun.
And we really feel we love the fact that skill checks should be a part of encounters, that you've got the ability to use those skills. I hear it all the time, on social media about, beyond a handful of skills, most of them are useless. There's so many players out there who don't understand that you can use, an associated skill with a different stat block. Dave's a master of that. It's like, oh, I need you to make a wisdom investigation check. It's like, what? Like, well, but, it's not so much about putting the clues together in a logical order. It's about seeing something that makes sense, or whatever. But he's done it numerous times, and I absolutely love it.
And I think my favorite part about the way that we've sort of trying to present, like I said, like our the nerdarchy way of it's like, for me as a DM, because I don't feel as confident as you guys, I like that to include like, hey, sometimes, players might do this. Here's how you might consider handling that you think, because that's what, that's why it often just like ends up being perception and,
Well, I mean, that's the great process of the out of the box design, because there's a whole section on complications.
Right.
If you aren't prepared for this, or your players might do this, it gives you the strategies of what you might have to do. And if you've read that ahead of time, they're basically little GM tips preparing you for that encounter that you might not be ready for, and it's fantastic. Now, we're not going to say that every possible scenario is going to come up and be able to be handled by the complications. No, but a lot of things that you might not think of are going to be there.
Right.
Taverlos hit the nail on the head. Intimidate as a strength check. using, performance with a strength check. I mean, you could totally have a performance as a constitution check over the course of a distance, like
Sure.
a length of time. Like, all right, how long can you dance, or how long can you perform an activity?
And that would be intimidating, especially if it was like a group of people, like say, there's a battle on the following morning, like two armies or something, and just like they're up all night, like drumming and everything, and be intimidating.
Yeah, totally having a dance off, which I've been a part of.
Yeah.
It's not easy to wrap around the conversation to get back to my goblin divination wizard entertainer Vomit.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you didn't get to play. Are you guys going to play that this week instead?
I do believe it is still up in the air as to what is transpiring this Thursday. We are playing something.
Okay, I went to go watch it last week, and I was like, "Oh man, am I missing it? Where's his channel?" And I wanted to see about.
There were a number of health issues. And
okay, yeah.
while the group doesn't know it, I had my own. I spent some time lying on the cold bathroom floor myself. So.
Yeah, well, hey, health comes first. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see BB's place again.
Yeah, it's a fun time. He is an amazing DM. So it'll happen at some point in time. Just don't know when. So,
so Vomit, I didn't realize that Vomit's a divination wizard.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
he casts the runes.
I mean, I could go in that kind of direction, but I just decided to be, something silly.
Does he read the Vomit like tea leaves?
No. Vomit just happened to be his name. I wanted to go with something that was a very goblin-esque name. And, that's just where it was. And
sure.
I don't know whether V understood what I was, getting into, or whether it was just, perfect comedic timing, but it was just pure comedic gold that night. And it certainly left an impression that when she talked about running BB, she's like, you got to bring Vomit back. And there's not too many people who are going to say that kind of comment. But you brought up that it is that this is a Patreon, chat. Typically, for those who, might be here, or haven't been paying attention regularly, normally this is just for that. But, through COVID and whatnot, we wanted to be able to give more to, our fellow nerds out there. And, so we've opened it up for the time being. At some point in time, who knows when, we'll turn it back on, or turn it back off of public and only, put it out to patrons. But until such time, we're just going to keep at it. We do a monthly giveaway. We do a monthly fan game. And there's always the first Monday of the month.
Oh yeah, that's right. It is.
Well, I did my homework this time. I've got, this month's selection and winner. I've got the, those who have been selected to play with Dave.
Oh yeah, you always got all that stuff on lockdown.
Well, I did miss it a couple of months ago and totally.
Did you? I think you just weren't on that Monday.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't on the call and didn't type it and email it as I.
We forgive you.
Supposed to do. I'm not perfect. I'm pretty awesome.
6 years, one mistake. I think we can live with it.
So this month we are giving away from our awesome friends over at Frog God Games the book that can function as a melee weapon because it is that heavy. This sucker is.
Is that Rapinathic?
This is over 650 pages. This is Rapinathic.
Ooh, nice. Mega Dungeon, right?
Yes, this is amazing. The legendary Dungeon of Graves is a subterranean world of horror stretching down to the darkest depths of the world. Only the cleverest and most resilient of adventurers will survive to confront the enemy at the journal's end. For Orcus, the legendary prince of the undead, makes Rapinathic his lair. If your party has the skills, fortitude, and judgment necessary to meet him, then the Frog God Games invites you to the legendary halls of Rapinathic. So this is going out to the lucky winner, Justin Hunter. This is a $100 MSRP. I thought it doesn't need any extra boosts. This is just an amazing product all by itself, whether you want to use it whole cloth and run the full game, or pick it apart and use it as you will.
Yeah, I was gonna say something like that's like an awesome toolbox for that too, because it's got so many like levels of like character, challenge levels too. So I mean, yeah, you could. I love mega dungeon books just for that. I mean, even if you just take out like, because there's always like a little temple area, even on a level that you just like, oh, I need a temple. And probably got traps and monsters and all that stuff.
So Ludwig says it's Frog God's version of the Tome of Horrors.
Oh, it's much bigger than that.
Well, I think he meant in like deadliness.
Oh, is it supposed to be like super deadly? Is it like a really dangerous?
Frog God has been known to ramp up things.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, there is literally the stat for the Frog God.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't like it's. I think that's the highest CR, like even amongst third-party people, right? It's like 35 or something.
35. Yep. Yeah, you attack the thing and you're taking damage, and it's not small. So I actually was looking at the Frog God when I had made my stats for an Arcetus.
Oh, okay.
I did not take all of the, hey, you're going to take crap tons of damage when you attack him. But I seriously debated it. But as stated, this wonderful book is going out to the wonderful Justin Hunter. If you want to get in on our monthly,
Justin,
you can sign up for Patreon, as many have done. So that's just one of the many things.
Hey, I got a question for the people in the chat. If any of you are Patreon supporters, and if you're not, this might apply to you too. What would you like? Is there anything you guys would like to see on Patreon? Not like product wise, but just like, what do you want? Is there any kind of interaction anybody's craving? That's always like the great mystery. I'm always curious about that, so I'm just going to throw that out to the people right here.
Absolutely. So before I get into what we're giving away next month, I'm going to go in.
Oh, you got that? That too?
I have that prepped. There's
man!
I'm on point. I was doing good. I prepped a whole bunch of people over the last few days to
nice.
Get on the the live chat. So I've added a decent amount there recently.
Killing it.
I'm doing the best I can here, sir. All right, so Dave is going to be running a game on Sunday, the 29th at 2 p.m. These, the fan games are just totally off air so that everybody can, kind of have fun and enjoy the game. I apologize that, it's not streamed, but, it's more low key, and it's about the interaction between the DM and the players. And, we've got, several games up on the channel now. So, yeah, you can have fun that way. So the players that have been selected, it's typically, the first 4 or 5 that respond. We'll let, Dave make that determination. We've got Andreas Roman, Christopher Beck, Connor James, Matthew Stolfelson, John Walker, Omar Neves, Jacob Detterman, Scott Lane, Thomas McNutt, and Hayden Black. If I mispronounced your name, I do apologize. We have fans all around the world, so I'm English speaking and sometimes barely at that. So
I think you're quite articulate, Ted.
I try my best, but I know that there are many times that I fail. So on to the last order of business that I have, and then we can kind of get back to whatever it is that you wish to kind of chat about, or circle back to runes. From the recent guest on the channel, Matt Davids. We've got a copy of the No Prep Game Master.
Oh, nice.
I've got several of these, so these are probably going to appearing over the next several months.
Yeah, he's got some cool books, those like quests, random quests books and stuff.
And I've got some of those to give away. So there's 4 copies here.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I imagine over the next 4 months these are gonna appear. But from our friends over at Nord, we've got the Ultimate Bestiary. Ultimate Bestiary Revenge of the Horde. I've used this quite a bit. And of course, Rime of the Frost Maiden. So,
wow, that's all for next month?
Yep.
Woo!
So quite sizable.
Yeah, that's some cool stuff.
So The only way to get in on that giveaway is to sign up for Patreon. Even $1 a month automatically gets you a free entry, and it is only, available via, the patrons or through, because, contests have to do that. You can mail something in. We do have one regular, and we have once done through the mail-in contest form. But
Oh, really?
yes, over the many years that we've been doing this, it has happened once. Um, but so there you have it. If you want to get access to this fun stuff, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's been fun making stuff for Patreon lately with the like we said, the revamped scenarios. You've been doing those cards. That's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed both the two that we've done so far. Has anybody used those in your games, the Croak Cloak or the Glaive of Wizardry? I love that Croak Cloak. I mean, man, that art is just crushing it, and the powers are cool, and like with all the other frog stuff, it's like I want to play a character with the cloak, the helm, the wand, like just
Shield.
What's that?
The shield.
Yeah, the shield. Oh man, at D&D in a castle, somebody had that. They loved that thing. It was so much fun.
Well,
and then the stuff for the newsletter with your frog shrine that you made out of that Mr. Mouse game is just a great idea. And the lily pad encounter.
I realized, I didn't do, because we can't go anywhere. There's been no conventions for most of 2020. I realized as we're approaching the end of the year, I have not used any vacation time at my real job. So I have planned 2 very nice long vacations before the end of the year. So I will be getting my frog shrine done.
Good on you.
A variety of other things. So my job is awesome. I work from home and have done for, at this point in time, 10 and a half years.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. But yeah, it's still nice to have a vacay.
But it is, my job vacation time is use it or lose it. So I'm going to use it. And, I like to, previously I've liked to done, you do the Monday through Friday so that you get the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that, if you plan things out over like Christmas and Thanksgiving, where you typically get 2 days, and then you take those 2 days and you buttress them. I get a Friday and a Monday and the whole week, so I got 2 11-day vacations coming up before the end of the year.
Nice. Joe, true to form, had mentioned dragon runes, and that of course makes me think of Skyrim. I don't know if you play that. I've been playing that lately, but you learn those. So your character is like a dragonborn, which is like just a rare once in a millennium type of person, but you can learn these dragon runes in the form of shouts. Like you're learning to speak dragon, and like they're so powerful that like effects happen. And each one's got sort of like 3 different runes that becomes more powerful. So, and there are all manner of things from like you can run really fast, or like just literally like this concussive shout, or like breathe fire and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's just another case like we started off talking about, where like it just builds so much into your setting. It like it speaks to that exploration pillar with the lore, but also like social in a way too, because it's like it is a language,
right?
And like there's also that like sort of DM, you can get the DM chuckle out of it when. I mean, technically, just any language they don't understand would be considered runes, right? So, like, even if nobody spoke like common, you could be like, yeah, like some of the letters are round and some are sharp, and
So that is certainly amusing, to look at it like that. When you were talking about the, the language itself is super powerful. To me, like my brain initially was just looking at, like the events of Stranger Things, and when like the blood trickling down Eleven's nose, like you could totally have a language that is literally magic itself. It's so powerful that like you can't just have a conversation in that language. The words themselves, the runes themselves, are so potent that it has the ability to rend the physics, to basically warp and twist what's out there, to bend elements to your control, or to conjure things that don't belong, or to just rend someone's mind. So
Mm-hmm.
literally all the things that you can do with a magic spell could all be translated into, these kind of runic effects. But you could take it a step further and go in a direction where it's like, granted, you can do these things, but it's going to cause you some damage, in invoking them. Ideas that popped into my head, and I feel if I don't share them,
Sure.
they're lost.
And that's also kind of like speaks to me as just a curious person too, because being like you said, like a language, it's like, well, what kind of people spoke that language? Like, did they take a vows of silence because like their words they spoke were so powerful they could only be written down? It's like, I mean, then you start thinking of like whole cultures and that maybe existed long ago in your world and stuff. So there's so much you can do with just that simple concept of runes.
You could do both of those kind of things. What if you've got a monastery? You've got somebody who, like, this is the sole bastion of that era. This is the only thing that survived, and these eternal monks have survived. They don't talk. They only communicate through writing, and the language is so powerful. Like, they understand common, and they could switch to that if they really wanted to, but they prefer not. um but everyone else that spoke that language is long gone, eons past, what have you. I love the concept of a previous civilization that is lost. And
Yeah.
a lot of things in D&D talk about giants having ruled everything prior to, and as the number of giants have dwindled, they've fled to their typically mountains, whether it be inside or above or what have you. um but what if it wasn't giants? What if it was something else? Like, this is a time for you to
Aliens.
well, you could go aliens, but like I was thinking,
I was
like,
doing the meme.
oh,
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, you go in another direction, come up with something that is unique,
Is that better?
different for your world. That it just is like, all right, these people existed. There are none that exist to this day that anyone knows about. And then all of a sudden, now you've got the time. Maybe you run a number of sessions and people find out this, and they journey to this temple and they find these monks, and they're able to persuade them to give information, and they've studied this thing. And through all of this process and through the exploration, maybe there's someone who's been in stasis, maybe there's someone who's been on another plane of existence, and they've come back, and now you have got, it might not even be a villain, but it could be someone that is, a threat or a hazard. They might not be aware that what they do shatters things around them. They only know what they know, and it's been thousands or tens of thousands of years since they've stepped foot on this plane of existence. Everything is different to them, and you have that whole fish out of water, and then the destructive elements. And you kind of can combine the elements of I don't know whether there's anybody out there who are Futurama fans, but Nibbler's key fob that's going to destroy the earth was a comedic episode, but you could totally do that same kind of thing, as opposed to it being a key fob. It's just about this creature whose voice is that potent.
Somebody mentioned Black Bolt from Marvel Comics. That's his powers. His voice is like, he doesn't ever speak. You mentioned giants. Like, it's for some reason, giants and runes are really tied together to me, and I just love giant, like that sort of mythical giant stuff. And also, the fun thing about giants to me as a GM in games is like, I just love giant ruins and stuff because it's like they're giant, right? So like the steps are like like a challenge for the players to get up because they're like 12 feet tall. I mean, I like that kind of stuff, and it's just super evocative. That came out of my first campaign too.
My problem with giants is I have I've played through numerous editions, and giants used to be like tens of feet tall.
Yeah.
That it was like, oh, my head comes up to their knee, or less, and it's like, whoa, holy crap, how do these things exist on the same world? How big does a giant town, not even city but town, how
Yes,
big does
yeah.
it have to be if something is 80 to 100 feet tall? I have a problem with something like that.
Yeah, I like to play them as like rare. I like them and stuff. And there's ruins and things, and they're not around anymore. And there's like a handful for a lot of that same reasons. So even just like their food, if there was like a community of giants, it's like there would not be any cattle or anything around. They would just
when you get into third edition, they shortened everything, and now like the tallest of the giants are like 20 to 22 feet tall, if I recall correctly.
Is it that short, like a storm giant?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pitiful.
I know it's crazy, but like, so now all the giants are huge. So for the mini lovers out there, they're on that 3-inch base, but like, there are creatures that are much bigger when you start getting into krakens and dragons and things that get to these vast sizes. All right, but those things are incredibly rare. They lie dormant. They function off of different biologies than a typical humanoid. So all right, they don't need to eat, they as much. They don't eat daily. They don't have regular activity cycles. So like the science, like, I'm not a scientist, I don't consider myself super smart, but there is a biology conundrum when I look at the size of the world. Now, Chimes of Discordia, Ulthgania, whatever you want to call our world, we have a mega planet. The thing is so huge, it actually has two small suns that orbit it, that are on opposite sides of the world. There's a number of moons and what have you. So vastly different planet structure than, say, Earth. But when I look at these kind of things, I still say, all right, how does all of this exist? So I don't tend to do a lot with giants as an active culture. I like the concepts of more runes and uncovering and teasing out that, well, maybe there's something out there to kind of put a little bit of fear in the players of like, okay, is a giant going to come rounding the corner of this ruins, and I'm like, am I going to see somebody that's going to squish my character into jelly?
Yeah, I just like it for the, like I said, just the scope of like where they live would be just kind of funny to me. Hey, a quick shout out to Dungeon Class there in the chat. I popped in theirs earlier. They're other YouTube creators, and we talked about it earlier, but they asked about do we mind books being leaked and reviewed? Speaking of Tasha's, they miss the wonder of purchasing a new book and exploring all the goodies inside. Yeah, same here. I like to be surprised.
It's
I like, some press is good. I was like that with that movie Inception years ago, because I was like, this looks really cool. And like anytime a commercial came out, I would just like leave the room. Like, I don't want to know what it's like. I don't want to see a review. I don't want to know what happens. I want to be surprised. Looks like a cool movie.
Like, it's one of those things, like, there are loads of people out there that they want the information. They want to get access as soon as possible. Oh, how good is it? Do I get it? Do I pre-order it? Do I get there, opening day to have my copy at my local, gaming store? People want that information, and I'm not gonna argue against those people who want the reviews, who want the information. I am certain the fact that we as Nerdarchy, and that we get review copies to put up on the the website or videos or what have you, that there are some people who are like, oh my god, I need this now, and other people are like, you know what, I'm gonna wait on this one. I'm gonna wait till my copy shows up and I can look at it, and then I'll come back to your video. So like, however it is that you want to consume that information, by all means do it.
Sure. Unless it's pirating, because that's bullshit.
Yes.
You should be tarred and feathered.
The fact that we are content creators, and then the fact that I work for a book publishing company, I am very much against people who are pirating books and what have you. So we are approaching our end time. So do you have any last things? Did we get through your entire list of runes?
Yeah, we did. Even glyph of warding, we touched on a little bit. Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that runic discussion.
So when we look at So when we look at, runes, there's so many ways to use it. We brought up traps, we brought up treasure, we brought up props at your table. It is just an utterly fantastic thing. Um, yeah, it is just a great thing to do.
It is.
Uh,
And if that's not enough rune for you, then go down in the description and watch that video about Rune Magic. And I wouldn't be surprised to find the newsletter has some pretty interesting stuff in it about runes, which will be next week's newsletter. There's still time to sign up for this week's newsletter.
Yeah, that's a great point. We always buttress into these concepts with our newsletter, so that you've got the capacity to get more information about this. Sometimes there's magic items or
Frog shrines,
all kinds of fun things that are going to happen. So definitely a lot of fun. But sign up for the Nerdarchy, the newsletter, and you'll gain access to some more fun things. So I guess until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy. Nailed it. We're still on.
All right. Well, I thought it was going to shut down. All right. Well, all right. We'll keep talking.
Hot mic.
I was not prepared for this. Oh God.
I'm just chatting with this. See, Ludwig's 3 a.m. in Belgium.
Yeah.
That's right, Tally. I always nail it. Do 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 do.
So, any exciting, fun things coming up on this week's on the website?
Ooh, boy, it's a crapshoot. I don't know. There's a pretty cool review of those Fang and Thorn WizKids minis. And then who knows, whatever videos come up, there'll be posts about it. I don't know. I like to strike while the iron's hot. It's rarely planned out much in advance. But those rewards are going up in a couple days, so if anybody wants to go check us $2 on Patreon, you'll get those on the 5th. And if you want to give your scrolling finger a workout, you can scroll down and get like 2 years worth of monthly rewards. I think they're all there. And who knows what else? Magic item cards and
there's lots of things and always new things coming. So we got a couple extra minutes out of us.
Are we still on?
Yeah. So I was not quite ready to hit the button. I am now. So until next time,
stay there
for real.